Good morning, it's Hiker Dude Dad, and I am in the woods of Neversink Mountain. If this video gets to you, if I make it out of here, then hopefully I'll be able to show you the Witch's Hat Pavilion and a spot where a few cursed lovers did a Romeo and Juliet type leap off of the mountain. Halloween is coming, and we're gonna get spooky up in here. Let's go. All right, so Neversink Mountain back in the late 1800s was basically built out as a resort area. There were 5 or 6 hotels up here. They were the Neversink Mountain Hotel, which is our main goal today. I was up on top of the mountain at the highest point, around 800 feet above sea level. The Centennial Springs Hotel, Dengler's Glen Hotel, which is right nearby here, the White House Hotel, and the Highland House. So these were rather large places, and they were built to attract rich tourists looking to get away for the summer from New York and Philadelphia and everything like that. The size of these hotels is crazy. Like, I'm picturing The Shining basically, and like the ballroom scene, you know, people in there, it's the middle of summer, but they're in 3-piece suits and, you know, partying and dancing into the night. Everything like that is what I picture up here on how that was. We're very close to the Dengler's Glen Hotel. It appears to be on private property, so I'm not going to go back there, but that was probably, it was called a hotel, no rooms. They made no bones about it. They were the party hotel. They had a huge bar and everything like that. So people would throw down some, you know, local German style lagers and participate in their box social or whatever they did in the late 1800s. But behind me here is kind of a retention pond. I think they call it the concrete pond, but I'm sitting on the dam basically. This caught water coming down, and water here was used by the Neversink Hotel up on the mountain, and it was dammed up here, and that's where they got it. It's covered by this like creepy kind of you know, moss right now, but I guess they used it back in the day. It's like drinking water. And all right, I think we're clear. So we can't get to the Dengler Hotel, but behind that, still on private property it appears, is the Centennial Springs Hotel. Centennial Springs was eventually sold and turned into a tuberculosis sanitarium. Big problem back then. There was no cure for it back then, late 1800s, but anyone afflicted could voluntarily quarantine themselves here, and that did help stem the tide. So they'd come here to this resort, mountain resort, lovely place, the Centennial, also a sanitarium, and they would live out their days here at the resort, but also keep the TB from spreading. All right, let's go up the mountain. So while Dengler Glen was like the party hotel up here, Centennial Springs Hotel, which was right behind it, was built by a vintner, and he was growing grapes here on the mountain. The slopes here are kind of southeast facing, eastern slopes, wonderful for grapes in Pennsylvania, California, wherever. Used to be in the biz, so I do know that. But so I'm figuring maybe a little classier crowd was going to the Centennial Springs, and like I said, that was he put it on the auction block in 1906, and then in 1909 is when it became the tuberculosis sanitarium. A running theme up here with these hotels that you're going to find is going to be arson. Many of them did not do well financially. They weren't very profitable as much as the owners expected, and as we'll see at Neversink Hotel, absolute arson up there, to kind of get paid out and get their money back and get out of here. Right here, I'm about as close as I will be to the top, the summit of Neversink Mountain. As you can see, there's a radio antenna up there now at the summit. I'm only about 20 feet of elevation probably away from it, but don't believe there's a trail up there. There's a trail out on the other side. I came up the hill this way and cut over here on the Promenade Trail, but the summit of Neversink Mountain is 879 feet above sea level, and the prominence above the surrounding land is about 550 feet. In case you were curious, the high point of Berks County is not here. Not sure where that is. I just did a quick Google search, but the elevation there is about 1,600 feet, and we're just shy of 900 here. As we walk on the light green blazed Promenade Trail, this is going to take us straight to the Witch's Hat, which is a main goal today. There seems to be another level of trail up here. I have a map of the railroad that used to be up here. So, awesome map. I'll have to figure out where I found this online, but this was actually the best map that I could find online, hand drawn, of where the hotels and some of these sites are. The buildings aren't here, you know, it's just gonna be foundations and such. But we're up here just below, let me get my finger in here, we're right around here. So there is track there between stops 5 and 6 here on this railroad that used to be here. So I'm not sure if Promenade Trail was the rail bed or up here was the rail bed. Alright, so the wind is picking up here. The echo in here is pretty awesome. Kind of hoping for a foggy, overcast day, but the sun came out. So stones to create the arches, and then a wooden roof. Held together with kind of metal poles on hooks. Yeah, this is great. I don't know if they've ever had to redo the roof on this, but it still looks in pretty good condition. There's a hole right here. But out here, gives you a good look out north towards the city of Reading. So northwest a little bit. There's some cables in the way, but the pagoda is right here. I'm going to zoom in and get that. So zoomed in, that's a real great look at the pagoda up there on Mount Penn on the north side of the city. So we're kind of looking across. I did a video on that, I'll link that above. Don't know if there's any spooky symbolism to there being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 windows. The door, which goes down to the ground there, makes 8. Almost looks like teeth. So the pavilion, originally called the West End Pavilion at the Neversink Hotel, And it was created because a hiker back in the late 1800s would consistently come up here and take a rest here. His name was William McIlvaine. On my hand-drawn map here, this is actually listed as the McIlvaine Pavilion. So West End Pavilion, McIlvaine Pavilion, or Witch's Hat. 1892, I believe. William McIlvaine and the Witch's Hat. So I'm gonna give this a shot, but basically from the Witch's Hat, the nature has overgrown the top of the mountain here. So the Neversink Hotel was out this way, and I've got a picture that I think I can superimpose in this shot to show you where it was in relation to the Witch's Hat. So I hope this works. If not, then this video will never see the light of day, but hopefully I just showed you a good idea of how the Neversink Hotel was situated and what it looked like back in the day. So the Neversink Hotel was the largest hotel here. It was 800 feet above sea level, 360 feet in length, 45 feet in width. It was 5 stories tall with 168 rooms. There was a grand assembly hall, a dining room, a barber shop, a billiard room, and a bar. The hotel and grounds covered 15 acres here on top of the mountain. There were walking paths, tennis courts, croquet, a children's playground. Construction only took 5 months. It was a seasonal resort, only open between June and September. So the Neversink Hotel only lasted 13 seasons, and it was never profitable. It was destroyed by fire in 1905. The season ended on Labor Day, and the only occupants here were a night watchman and a housekeeper. So like, again, total Shining vibes from this place, like old school bar, dance, and then bringing in a groundskeeper or whatever to take care of the place in the off season. So the fire started in 3 different places simultaneously: the east end, the west end, and the center. Obviously the work of arsonists. 3 figures were seen leaving the premises shortly after the fire began, and there were only 2 people that were supposed to be here. So absolutely arson. There was no fire department that serviced the mountain here, so but the train did. So they just let the building burn. It burned all night. Residents, they fired up the train. The residents came up here from the city to come and watch the Neversink Hotel burn to the ground. So as I leave the promontory here on Neversink Mountain, and I keep saying that word for a very good reason, we will leave the Witch's Hat here. Unfortunately, no spooky stories associated with the Witch's Hat. The next place that I'm going to try and find is called Point Lookout, and it's a tale of forbidden love and 2 lovers wanting to be with each other in the afterlife since they couldn't be with each other on Earth. I keep saying promontory up here because the Lenape word Neversink, meaning at the promontory. So all the places around here, you know, you got Mount Penn and Neversink. So this one they called the promontory, the Neversink. I was trying to find a place called Point Lookout. I have one more attempt left. I'm going to try and drive there. Might be able to happen if it's where I think it is. It's on the hand-drawn map, which is not to scale, and I just couldn't find it right now. So the story on that, though, is the spooky part of this trip. Tales of ghosts and unrequited love. But in the 1760s, a young Quaker woman named Sarah Wynne fell in love with a Native American, a Lenape, named Unalak. His tribe had just settled here near Neversink Mountain. They fell in love. Quakers, very uptight religious. Lenape, you know, want to keep to themselves. And neither group approved of the union. They really wished to marry each other, but again, can't get the stamp of approval from these groups. So rather than be forced to live apart from each other, they climbed to Point Lookout, gazed out over the valley, and decided that if they couldn't be together in life, they would do so in death. Held hands, jumped off Point Lookout, and that was the end of that. Or was it? Locals say that their spirits haunt the land around here. If you find Point Lookout, you might see two shadowy figures. They mean you no harm. They're in love, they just want to be together. Okay, so the scariest thing on this trip did not happen. I got back to my car, which was parked in Redding City, and it was not broken into. I kid, kind of. But the car is okay. I hope you had fun on this trip. I tried to make it spooky, scary, whatever. Hope you peed yourself a little bit. Let me know in the comments if you did. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.